Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Miracle Mile. In this episode, we are going to be focusing on the area that sits between the road that leads into town and the river. In fact, just for future reference, to the left of the screen, the wider gap between the road and the river is where the mall will be. And I think we're going to start working on that area in the next episode. At the time of this recording, I haven't recorded anything for episode 3 yet. It's still very much TBD, but I think that's what I'm going to be working on. Just so you know. In this episode, this area that I was talking about is going to be turned into a park. But before I go into the specifics of this, I do want to point out that I felt like the previous episodes, the first episode actually, the cinematics were a little bit short. So I extended the audio mixing of the song at the end, so you should get a few more clips. You should get to enjoy a few more clips at the end of this video. So stay tuned for that because there's some really interesting cinematics that I put together for you. In any case, this park that I'm working on right here is, I've been doing a lot of research. I guess I wouldn't call that research, but I've been doing a lot of Googling mapping. Just turning that into a verb, it's really hard, but been looking at a whole bunch of cities, primarily in the Midwest of the U.S., especially cities that sit on river sites like this one, and they all pretty much tend to have the same design for parks, where there's one big parking lot that can accommodate a huge variety of cars, as well as a network of pedestrian and bike paths. So what I'm doing primarily here is putting down some bike paths that pretty much sort of go around or just follow the contour of the river, and they also meander through what now it's still a patch of empty grass, but will later be turned into a mini forest, to say the least. And when I say in the future, I mean like later in this episode, not in future episodes, because this whole build is pretty much going to be completed at the end of this episode, just so you know, or at least that's sort of my goal. Maybe in the future I'll come back and add a few more things, but I'm pretty sure I can safely say that this is pretty much done. In any case, one thing I wanted to talk about is the traffic lights that I'm putting over there. Those are basically props. They don't really do anything. And, I got this mod that supposedly replaces the traffic lights from the vanilla ones to American style traffic lights, but I couldn't get it to work. In fact, it removed all of the traffic lights from the city of Ocampo in the back as well. So I have no idea how to fix that other than enabling it in Content Manager. I really don't know what to do. So if you had experience something like that, trying that mod, I'm sure if you use it, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, let me know how you managed to get it to work. To be honest, I haven't done a whole lot of research because I really don't care so much about having a functional traffic lights. As long as traffic flows okay and aesthetically I have a traffic light like I put down there, I'm happy. That's all I need. Also, pretty much like I did in the previous episode, I'm using these node-based walls so that I can build a retaining wall facing the river where there's going to be a bit of a terrace. And I'm putting down these benches that I started putting down actually off camera because clearly I didn't include that clip. Putting down some of the vanilla benches that I thought they were mostly okay. But when I put them down here, they were a little bit too saturated. Like the colors were like really, really intense. And it was definitely eye-catching, which is not necessarily something I want in this park. I want just the vegetation or the group of assets to be the eye-candy or catching thing here. But instead, I went into the workshop and picked the most plain bench that I could find. And in fact, I think they worked out great. I think they just have like concrete legs and just a couple of really desaturated 2x4 wooden planks on the top, and that's it. That's the whole bench asset. And I think it works fantastically well. Another thing that I'm doing here, by the way, is as I'm using a combination of Surface Painter and the bike paths, I was trying to sort of make it look like there's a pedestrian path sitting right next to the bike path. So usually, want to separate pedestrians and bikes, especially in high traffic areas, because otherwise it's really annoying for both. Mostly for bicyclists. I can tell you, I know for a fact that it's annoying because every time I ride my bike on the boardwalk in Venice here in LA is just so annoying, people walking on it. I know they're tourists and I can't be mad at them, right? But man, that is really frustrating. So it's usually a good idea to sort of separate traffic in high traffic areas. So that's kind of what I was aiming for there, just a patch of gravel where pedestrians can easily walk, and then just putting some wooden bollards to separate the traffic, from one type to another. Now, another thing that I'm doing here, you saw a second ago, I keep rambling about things and the video keeps playing back, so I can't keep up, man. But I put down some of these parking lot roads, which I'm sure you've seen a million times by now. They're really, really good. I've been using them a lot in FPS, which I guess you haven't seen any of those episodes yet because they're going to be out in a couple of months. That's how far in advance we recorded those. It's not amazing. I hate it that we have to do that, but it's the only way we can actually stay on schedule. Otherwise, it would be crazy. But one thing that was somewhat recent is the release of a version of these parking lot roads with a bit more of a grimy, like worn down texture. And another thing that I've been using a lot is this trick with decals, where you put down a decal and then using move it and page down, you can like lower the Z-axis for the decals, and they do this like fade out effect that pretty much makes it really, really easy to blend in all the different textures. So, I think after Mass Transit, Green Cities, the last DLC that came out, just the color of the roads got really messed up. So adding those decals and lowering them down, you can pretty much create seamless transitions between the different colors of pavements, which is great. I love that. So I highly recommend you do that. Now over here, what I'm doing is I pretty much painted all of this with Surface Painter, like I said a second ago, but I started removing different chunks in random patterns. And once I had those holes of grass, pretty much, I ended up creating these clusters of fences around it, just surrounding every one of these holes with fences. In many cases, the fences don't even touch themselves. They're a little bit just close enough, but not quite. And I kind of did that on purpose. It's just a little bit rougher. The point here is, unfortunately, I don't think I captured a clip in the time lapse that shows this, but I'm going to be filling those with trees, and you obviously will get to see that in the cinematics at the end, so don't worry about it. But basically, once you start putting down trees and bushes, they're so wide and big that they pretty much hide all the imperfections. So it's really easy to sort of wing it. If I do say so myself, the result is actually really, really great, and you don't have to go super perfectly precision-y detail to achieve a really good effect. Here I'm doing that again. I think it's also worth pointing out the fact that so right now you can see it's 12:35 p.m. in game, and everything looks super flat and boring and not great. So one little tip I'll give you, if you want to take amazing screenshots or record footage, I recommend you record those or at least set your game to basically the dawn or the dusk hours. I think in cinematography, these are called the golden hour, where basically the shadows are the longest, and there's just an even amount of light and a lot of contrast, which is actually what you want. At noon, everything looks really, really bright and just very short shadows. It's not very appealing. But if you change the time of the day to, let's say, anything between 3:30 p.m. in game to 7 p.m., it really varies based on the LUTs that you're using or the settings that you have set up. But mostly those times of the day will get you really interesting shots. And I tend to point the camera from the darker side of things, pointing towards the source of light. I think that achieves even more or better results. You can pay attention to the cinematics at the end, because pretty much 100% of those are shot that way. So maybe it's something that you didn't know, and now you might be able to get better screenshots if that's where you were looking after. Now, changing subjects here, I'm refurbishing this bridge a little bit. I got these puzzle pieces from the workshop. I think this bridge is pretty old. It's not a new asset, but I've never used it before, and I just wanted to add a little bit more, detail, make it look a bit more aesthetic. So just went ahead and grabbed these, and I had to like modify the endpoints of the bridge, like the notes themselves, so that I could fit both arches in a more reasonable fashion. One thing I forgot to talk about in the previous episode is the fact below the bridge, you can come back, like rewind the video if you want, or just wait for the cinematics that are about to roll in. But I started using a combination of rocks between the breakwater rocks that I created for Sinu and the river rocks that Ronix put together. And I think I saw someone else do that a while back. I can't remember exactly whose, otherwise I would have given them credit, but I think it was $2.20 maybe? Anyways, combining those two assets, the breakwater rocks I did with Ronix's river rocks, oh my god, you can create a lot of really awesome things. They do look amazing. They pair together very, very well. And I highly recommend you do that if you're looking for a good set of rocks. I know I always complain about someone making better versions of my rocks, but I guess this is a really good compromise. Now, that being said, it's pretty much the end of this episode, and I would like to ask you to give this video a like if you enjoyed, and if you're new to the channel and haven't already, subscribing, it's a really good option for you. That way you're notified next time I post a video. Check out the description for the many links related to my channel and my online social media presence and things. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.